Hey, everybody, in this episode of The Concert Experience, we're getting up close and personal with musician Carrie Lane. Let's do it.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hey, everybody, listen to that. A little bit of Carrie Lane, our guest this episode, playing us in with her song here. Welcome to The Concert Experience here on AfterBuzz TV. This is the show where we get up close and personal with the recording artists that bring all that incredible music either to your eyes if you're watching a music video or your ears if you're just listening to it there. I'm your host, Frank Moran. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at HappyGoJackie. My guest today is a musician, singer, and songwriter who first took the stage when she was 4 years old. Touring since 2014, she shared the stage with Taylor Caniff, Winter Lights, Hollywood E, and more. And as it wasn't already that wasn't cool enough, that's already cool just being a musician, she's also a model. Now, her current single that we're hearing right now, If I Can't Be With You, is playing right now. Please welcome Carrie Lane.
How are you?
Doing well.
This is so funny. I love watching videos of myself. So all I do is look at videos of myself all day long.
Are you cool with it? Because I know some people get like I can't watch myself do stuff. Are you good with this?
I think I embrace how incredibly embarrassing I am as a human most of the time. So I love watching videos of myself. It's funny, like, this is cool, and then probably like in 5 years from now I'll have trouble watching this and I'll be like, oh, what was I doing? Because I make a lot of videos. I've had videos of myself on the internet probably for about 5 years now, and I actually was rewatching a bunch of them recently, and I was just like, what was I doing? So right now I'm like, oh, this is cool and current. I like this. But yeah, in a couple of years from now I'll be like, what was that eyeliner? So
You almost want to document what you were thinking in this moment so that you can read it 5 years from now. You're like, oh, that's what I was thinking.
Exactly.
Oh,
I'm gonna watch this interview and be like, what?
This is all right. I thought that was cool.
Yeah,
all right,
exactly.
Yes. So now, as I mentioned, you got your start at the age of 4 and you were playing Wendy.
Wendy, Peter Pan. Oh, I love it. The research, so
Yes,
thorough.
there you go. Yes. That, now, are you a Disney person? Or just like that happened to be an opportunity that came your way? And you're like, as 4 years old, I want to play this.
100%. Well, I'm definitely a Disney person. I just saw Beauty and the Beast with my mom when she was in town, and just cried for hours, after the movie was over. We went out to dinner afterwards, and I was sitting there crying. My mom was like, what's going on? I was like, I just love the Beast. And it just kept coming back to me. But yeah, I grew up with two brothers who were very into sports, very into that kind of stuff. And at 4, I asked for I was like, I want to sing, I want acting lessons. My parents had no idea what to do with me because my brothers are much older. They'd been playing baseball and soccer and all this kind of stuff. And they just looked up local theater stuff and put me in a show, and immediately knew that it wasn't just oh, kid trying to try new things. It was oh, this is something our kid is good at. I came home, I memorized all my lines, I knew everything. I was I was so invested in this role. I was Wendy, for a summer of my life when I was 4. I'd walk around and talking about my shadow, and my dad would look at my mom and be like, is she done? Does she know it's not happening right now? I'm like, no, Dad, they tell us we have to be the character. So I was very invested in it. And yeah, I got hooked. Literally, I was in that show, and then I think I was in a show nonstop for the next I don't know, 12, 13 years of my life, essentially. I was never not involved in a production. I was always in some sort of cast.
It's got to be such a switch for your family, though. So used to growing up in more a sports-minded family.
Yeah.
To all of a sudden, uh-oh, now we got to open up the world of music and theater to us. We don't know really much of what's going on. All right.
Yeah, I'm very much the different sort of black sheep in my family in terms of my mother works in medicine. My father's a lawyer. Both my brothers work in education, science, banking, that kind of stuff. So everyone is very facts, numbers, and I was just this little kid that was just I really feel that, and everyone's like, what? Can she go do some math problems or something? Nobody really understood me. It was actually funny, and it was interesting because my parents, I think, learned as I learned when I was growing up. They had no idea about any of the stuff that I was doing, and it was just, yeah, it was very different, not something that really they were used to or had experienced before.
But I feel like you can't ask anything more for parents than, even if they don't know much about the subject, they still are going to be in there with you and support you 100%.
Yeah, no, totally. I have the most supportive parents in the world. I recently did this shoot for Giphy while I was here. I don't know if you know what Giphy is. The GIFs that you watch. So they're doing this thing where they're creating your own GIFs so you can react as your favorite artist. So I did a whole page of reaction GIFs of me you know, like doing like the rack sign and then me being like, seriously, and like reacting to different stuff so that like my fans can literally like use my face. And so me trying to explain to my mother for like hours like what a GIF was, and she was like, so it's a picture. I was like, no. She was like, so it's a video. Like, also no. She was like, I'm really trying to like be supportive and understand here, but I don't know what's going on. So she came to the shoot with me and she was like, cool. Like, but that's, you know, that's all you can ask for. It's, my parents have been great like my whole life. As much as they don't get it, they try and they support and they love me.
So doing that shoot for Giphy, do they come to you with like, all right, these are the kind of things that you should do that we can make GIFs of, or do you come in with your list of like, I want to do this, this, and this, and this?
Well, it's actually really interesting. So they have like a little bit like of a list of different things. So like, aw, or like thank you, or like different things that they think that fans would want to use often in interacting with you. And then you select like ones that you want to do, but then also they totally like cater it to your personality. So a lot of times people will either do ones with like lyrics or something like that, or just like silly things that they have as like an inside joke with either like their fans or musicians or whatever. And then Mike at Giphy actually took like things that I was saying in between the shots that I was doing and made those GIFs. So like in between one of the shots he was suggesting something to me and I was like, that's stupid and I hate it, and he took me saying that, cut that, and made a GIF of it, and it's like honestly the best one in the whole GIF pack. I'm like, this is what we're gonna use. Like that's how I feel about everything. So yeah, no, those GIFs are gonna be coming out soon, which I'm really excited about. I'm just gonna tweet nonstop. I like already told my friends, I'm like, I'm only gonna speak in GIFs of myself from now on. Like, I hope you understand. Like, please, thank you in advance for your consideration.
What's it like? That's gotta be so cool to be able just to communicate with people using yourself.
Exactly. I'm like, here's a picture of my face, being like, peace out. Like, I don't even have to say it.
It has
So
saved
good.
my thumb so much time
Oh,
now.
so much. Yes, exactly. It's perfect.
To hop back 1 second to Beauty and the Beast, you went and saw
Yes.
the film.
Yes.
I saw it as well, and I mean, I love the original, so it was tough for me. I already went in with a chip on my shoulder, like, prove to me you deserve this extra running time. Prove to me that you're going to be better.
What can you do for me,
Yeah,
Beauty and the Beast?
exactly.
I love that. Okay.
But at the end, there's that moment where they're all singing at the finale,
Okay.
and then Emma Thompson locks eyes with Kevin Kline, and they have that long look where they're just like, they have like something going on. I'm like, what is this look?
Wait, what?
Right
Wait.
when they're on the, they're in there, all the characters are rejuvenized.
Wait, so wait, Emma Watson's looking at
Emma
who?
Thompson,
Emma Thompson.
Mrs. Potts.
Oh, okay. She's
is looking at Kevin Kline as he's painting everybody.
Oh.
And she stares at him, and they have this connection for like, and they hold on this shot for like a little too long, and you're like, what's going on?
You're sitting there like sequel, like part 2, like here's the spinoff.
It took me out from. I was like, why is she looking at Kevin Kline for so long?
I missed that.
Like she was totally into him. She's like, let's get going.
Wait, maybe I have to see it again and see that, because I honestly, like, I usually notice stuff like that, but I totally missed it. I was probably just sitting there, like, trying to wipe my tears.
Yes,
like,
the tears are obscuring your vision. When you
I
go
was like,
back,
look at this. They really were. Everything was blurry. I don't even know if I saw half the movie. So, wait, I have to go see that. That's crazy.
yeah, when you go back at the end, that's all I can remember from that movie. Is like, man, because
And that ruined it for you?
well, no, I was already like, I don't know.
And then that, you're like, I'm out. That's it.
I'm out. What's
Peace
going on?
out, Gifford.
That's it. Where's my Carrie Lane gift for this? This is the only way I can communicate my thoughts about this. This is stupid and I hate it.
That one, I'm telling you, it's going to be everyone's new favorite.
So now I was reading up, as you're saying, doing the research there.
Yes.
Now you were saying, like, in terms of your good and bad traits, you're saying that extremely hardworking and creative, but you value the opinions of others too much.
Did I say that?
Yes, you did say that. Oh, that's true.
No,
Yeah,
it's
what's
true.
your-
It's so funny sometimes when people ask me questions and like, I'm like, how did you know this about me? Not like the Wendy, like Peter Pan thing, because that's like a question. Like, I've definitely said that in interviews and stuff like that. But sometimes I hear stuff like that and I'm like, this is true. Like, I'm in therapy right now. I'm like, you're right. I do value the opinions of other people too much. Yeah, I like, just grew up, like, work ethic was like the number one thing. Like, literally, like, every day of my life, my father would say, hard work, smart work. Like, you work hard at what you're doing, but you're also like concentrated and focused towards a goal. Like, a lot of people burn out at what they're doing because they're just like try so hard, but either haven't done the research or don't have the familiarity with what they're trying to do, that they know what they should be doing in order to get to their end game. So they're just kind of like throwing stuff at the fire, hoping that it will end in some sort of like positivity. So for me, it's always been like, okay, I'm going to do something today. How is that going to get me one step closer to my goal? And so that's always been like my strength. Like, anybody who knows me knows that, like, I'm like a workaholic, all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I get so honed in on it and so I guess addicted to feedback, and it's really like, especially today, they're like with social media and the internet and like all that kind of stuff. It's like everybody has an opinion, and everybody's opinion can be so close to you. Like you see all that kind of stuff. Like I see it on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, like, and YouTube and all the comments and stuff like that. It's not like this thing in the distance where I know people are going to have opinions about it. It's kind of like in my face, and that's something that's always been something I've struggled with a little bit, like how to deal with it. And I think a lot of influencers, artists, whoever it is that's dealing with like the new age of social media, it's something that they have to learn how to cope with and find their own kind of mechanism for it, which is something I'm still working on. So,
well, certainly as an artist who wants to express themselves,
Right.
trying to be confident in what you have to offer, and not worrying about what others think of what you're offering them.
Right. And like I think so like a lot of the reason that I switched from like musical theater into being a solo artist is because I felt like when I was doing musical theater, like I kind of loved playing a character and almost used it as like an escape almost, because it was like, okay, I can take this character. I know I've like this character is like crafted. They have these bad qualities. They have these good qualities. I can embrace all these things and I can kind of create my version of this character. And then I was like, but this is kind of something that I'm doing, yeah, like as an escape, as I said. So I want to talk about myself, which is like the hardest thing to do. So you basically put yourself out there and you're like, look, sometimes like I mess up. Sometimes like I handle this situation bad. Like I fell in love with this person who didn't fall in love with me. Like you put this vulnerability out and say like, look, these are all the things about me. Here's this character, and people react to that, and it's like a way different reaction, because you're like, wait, this character is me. Like this is hurtful that they feel this way about something that I did. And that's something that's like very vulnerable for an artist to do, and something that I think you have to learn to embrace if that's what you want to do as an artist.
Do you basically just come up with like basically an inner circle of people whose feedback that you do respect and solicit, and then like outside that circle, I may read it, I may hear it, but I'm not really going to let it affect me as much?
100%. I think that's like a super smart point and exactly what everyone has to do. And I think the issue there is you think you've created the circle, and sometimes you might like have someone who has like an alternative motive or like doesn't have your best interest at heart, and you might trust someone and that person is actually like not being helpful. So trying to find who those people are and keeping that circle super close in the entertainment industry is like very important, and often takes a very long time to do so. So like right now I feel like I'm at a place where I have really great people that I'm working with, that I love, that I trust, and I haven't always felt like that. I've felt like, oh, I've had managers or I've had people that I work with where I'm like, are they really like fully on my side, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's all about building a team, and it's about building a team that is going to champion you and be around you and support you.
And which I imagine it's got to be tough, especially in this industry, just that because there's so many, everybody has so many different things pulling on them, and you, as well as you may know somebody, you don't know everything that's happening in their lives and the struggles and pushes and influence that are happening in them too. So to find that unit that you can really trust and work, then you're all working together towards a common goal. Like you're saying, hard to find, but when you find it, boy, it's just like it's very special.
It is. It's super special, and it's a place where when things are going well, they keep going well. And like if you're in a situation where something's thriving and it's gelling, it's like it's a hard feeling to beat. It's a really great way to feel. So,
so now you're talking about musical theater. You grew up in New Jersey. When it came time to go to college, was NYU the first and only choice for you?
Correct. I applied to one school, got into one school.
That was it. You said, I'm calling my shot, NYU. I'm coming at you. Get ready.
I was like, let's do this. Yeah, everyone. My father went to Georgetown. My brothers went to Georgetown. I looked at Georgetown, Dad, and they had a very small theater department. At that point, I was still considering doing musical theater in college when I was applying. I ended up actually attending for education in the long run, but I wanted to be in a more artistic environment. So my father went to NYU Law, so I was like, oh, okay, perfect. Like this is a place that it's also like and I can make Daddy proud and go there, and I'd still be close to home. I like did not want to be far away. At that point, I was like obsessed with Broadway, obsessed with New York. That's like all I wanted to do was be in New York City. So yeah, I did that whole early decision thing. I was like accepted by December my senior year, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna be so artistic and live in the city. It's gonna be Gossip Girl, and it was great.
What did it make having that early acceptance in December? What was your last like semester, like your last half year of senior year? Was it like, I'm checked out, I don't care, I'm already set, see you later, guys?
Well, me being the hardworking person that I am should have probably I probably should have chilled a little bit, but I actually that semester was pretty cool because we did something. I know a lot of seniors in high school do some variation of this, but like May project or something like that, where you spend your last couple of months or like about a month or so working like on a project as opposed to going classes. I don't know if you've heard about that. That's something that's super popular in schools in New Jersey. So I actually worked at a women's shelter with learning about how that works for women who need a safe place from either like abusive relationships or stuff like that. So I worked in that shelter, and I actually went to high schools where they taught about abusive relationships and like dating safely in high schools. And I went with someone who like taught all around New Jersey and like kind of worked on that curriculum and learned about like the curriculum where they were teaching about safe dating, which was something that was like very cool and something that I cared about. So rather than like that point, like I wasn't like in English class or like Spanish class, I was like, I'm gonna be like a good person. I'm gonna go do something cool, because a lot of people like went and did silly stuff with their time, and I was like, I want to do something that makes a difference. So no, I did not check out. I worked.
Look at that.
Shocker.
Look at that. Your parents would be proud. Look at that.
Oh yes, I'm just trying to get parents. That's all that this interview is.
Yes, look at that. Just
Oh my
gratitude. Gratitude. That's your parents right now. Them and all their closest family and friends. Just clapping for you, Carrie Lane.
Listen, thank you so much. That was too funny. Oh my goodness. Okay.
So I also know, in addition to doing something like that your senior year, you've also been working with anti-bullying crusades as well.
Yeah, I actually did like a whole like anti-bullying tour. I wrote a song about anti-bullying. Wow, that feels like so long ago. I didn't even remember that I did that until you just said it.
I did that? Really? Oh my goodness.
Me? Yeah, it was this song called Don't Stand By, Stand Up, and it was just about like taking your voice and doing something about it. And like in that specific instance, it was about bullying, but I think that that's something that's like a phrase or something that I'm passionate about in general. And that was cool. Going to like we toured different schools around the country and talk with kids about bullying and stuff like that. Yeah, I didn't realize how passionate I was about that. I really am, actually. Yeah, that was a cool little thing that I did.
Did the schools that you'd go to, did you find that it was easier for the students there to be able to talk to somebody that was more of a peer to them as opposed to talking to a teacher or an adult?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I had talked to some friends of mine who had done something similar to that, who are about my age, and I feel like when I did that, I must have only been like maybe like 19. Like I was like very like I was in similar age bracket as them, and I remember like talking to these kids, and I actually think they're some of still like my strongest fans today, like people who still reach out to me on like even like Snapchat like or Instagram or whatever it is, and like still like believe in my message because they got to meet me and talk to me, and I think they find sort of like a safe space in somebody who recognizes that they're going through something and is have a similar like demographic and experience as them and can kind of relate to them on that. So that was really cool. I met some people that like I really feel like in some way we have this connection that we'll have for, a long time over a shared cause or belief. So that was cool.
Yes, I mentioned it was slightly different in terms of doing what you're doing with the women's shelters, because, I mean, that you're certainly a younger person kind of learning more about these women that are a little bit further in on their lives and have these other experiences, almost more like I don't want to say like a student at that, but in that sense, you're learning more as opposed with the bullying, you were able to kind of reciprocate and kind of share stories.
Yeah, exactly. And I did the women's shelter, like, I was a couple years younger, which, I mean, at that point in my life, I feel like every, like, minute I got older. But, yeah, it was interesting to, like, kind of, like, learn about something and be in the backgrounds and shadow somebody and then say, like, a year or two later, okay, I've seen how you can help someone. Let me take something that I'm passionate about and help other people. And I think that's what was so powerful about it, that I was, like, so young but able to think about, hey, I want to make a change, and then actually see that happening. Like, a lot of people, especially when you're young, you have all these ideas about all these things you want to like help in the world and like all these wrongdoings, and like there's that kind of feeling of like, well, what can I do? Like, what can I do to make a difference? Like like a tangible difference, not just like make a post or whatever it is. But when I was seeing it and I was seeing these people saying like, look, now I have someone I feel like I can talk to, or I have this coping mechanism when I would like talk to these kids, I was like, okay, this is affecting me. This is awesome. So yeah, that was really cool.
Because as much as a lot of the great anti-bullying PSAs and stuff where you see many celebrities, they are, they're just adults. And as much as you're a kid growing up, it's like, that's cool that these actors that I really like are saying this, but they're also adults and they're just so far away.
Yeah.
But to have somebody that's close to their age, like, no, this is, I know exactly what you're going through. It just feels like you were able to appreciate those words that you're sharing with them.
Yeah, there was one thing that I actually learned when I was working with the women's shelter teaching in high schools is they are adding to the curriculum the fact that there used to just be like emotional abuse, physical abuse, and things on that spectrum, and they actually added recently, I guess that was 5 years ago now, cyber abuse into that. And I remember talking to my mom about that, and she was like, that's like even an issue. And I was like, I feel like that's like kind of the main issue now. And she was like, oh, like I wouldn't even think to like talk to a kid about that. And I was like, yeah, like honestly, like through the phones and through Facebook and through all this stuff, that's like where like a lot of this stuff is happening. So even just on like little nuances from age differences and stuff like that, I could relate more to these kids saying like, oh, like I went on Facebook and saw these posts about me, or I feel left out because I always see these like Snapchat stories or whatever it is. Like no one really, it's really like a very new thing. Like even my friends who are like 5-10 years older than me like didn't have that in high school. Like phones were just starting to be a thing, and now phones are like everything in high school. So yeah, it was I was definitely a peer. I was relatable in that situation, and that felt powerful.
True, yeah. Before like social media, you could feel like school might stink, but I
Right.
can go home and it's like a safe space that I can just decompress and relax and then gear up for the next day. But then when you've got social media, it doesn't matter. You could be at home, hop on the computer, and everything
It never
is just right
shuts
there.
down. Yeah, it's never ending. You don't have an escape. Like I remember going home from school and being like saying bye to people, and you wouldn't see those people until tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? You weren't going to talk to them, and literally like that instant connection is there like all the time now, and that opens the opportunity to, you know, if you're going through something, you can't escape it. So yeah, it's interesting.
How old were you when you got your first phone?
I don't want to answer this question.
all right.
So spoiled. I got my first phone in the 3rd grade.
Third grade? Third grade? What are you doing with your phone in third grade? Were you blowing up
literally
at that point?
Yeah, I was just sliding in DMs in the 3rd grade. Hey. No, okay, so to be fair to this situation, I'm a type 1 diabetic. So when I was going into the 3rd grade, I was diagnosed with diabetes, and phones were like just a thing. Like my parents had phones, but like my brothers, who were 5 and 6 years older than me, did not have phones. So I got a phone before my brothers.
Oh, that must have been. That could not have flown over.
Yeah,
very
they were in like 8th and 9th grade, and then I got a phone in the 3rd grade. But it was just like, it was supposed to be like a safety thing, but like with my dad being like, you get whatever you want, princess, like wink wink. So thanks, daddy. So technically it was supposed to be like a safety thing, but like it wasn't. And then immediately after, I remember my brothers getting phones, because it was like, that's not fair. But I think most of my peers at that time got phones. It didn't matter because I had no one to talk to, because none of my peers had phones. So it was just like, hi mom, how are you? Which is still what I do on my phone.
But now you'll be able to send gifs of yourself.
Yes,
That'll be
exactly. It's
easier.
me just waving at my mom, and she's like, stop, I don't like this. Yeah, so I think like my peers got phones in more like 5th or 6th grade at that time. Yeah.
All right, so now you're in New York at NYU.
Yes.
That is a city that I love, because I feel like you can eat as much as you want, because
that's real.
it's a walking around city. You feel like, all right, I'm walking it off. It's totally fine.
Yes, exactly.
What's it like going to school in a big city like New York?
It was terrifying, and I felt very swallowed up, to be honest. I went to my high school graduating class was 21 students. Like,
wow.
So my entire high school was about 80 to 90 kids. And although the school is very small, I took a train to school every day. So I kind of like had a metropolitan experience. Like, it wasn't so much that I was afraid of like taking the subways or the big city or anything like that. I was actually very much adjusted to that. But I went from 4 years of seeing the same like 50 faces, and that went to like this like huge city where like my lectures were like 200 people, and I didn't know anybody, and you're like in this huge school in this huge city where you're basically like, hi, like I'm this kid who like knows nothing about anything. I don't know where I am. I'm pretty sure I'm wearing 2 different socks. Like, it's just like you have no, it was like very I didn't feel like grounded. I felt just kind of like, who am I? Like, for like a very like extenuous amount of time. And there was a lot of people there who I think felt that. So that was definitely an experience that was amazing and challenging, and like definitely shaped who I am today 100%.
So now you're exploring musical theater while
Yeah.
you're there. And then was there one moment that made you think like, all right, I'm going to step aside. I want to just pursue writing, perform my own songs.
So I kind of like broke away a little bit from musical theater. Like when I graduated my senior year, like I performed in a show. That's just like what I did. And I was like, I think I want like a little break from this. I want to see if this is something that I want to do like as an adult. Was this just like a hobby that I've done since I was 4 years old and it's all that I really know? Because that's what I was kind of questioning a little bit. I think that's an age when you're like 18, like literally your job is to question things. At least it was mine. Thanks, Mom and Dad. And so I was like, let me put this aside. Let me see if this is something I'm passionate about. And so I didn't do any like the summer before our senior year. Before my freshman year of college, I like did all this like crazy stuff. Like I was like, I'm 18, I'm gonna do what I want, and like did a bunch of stuff to piss my parents off. Like wasn't like a student anymore, so I had no A's. I couldn't be like, I am being bad, but I'm getting A's. I was literally like doing nothing. I was like partying. I started dating a guy in a band and told my parents I was going on tour with him, which was awesome.
I'm sure that went over well.
I was like, hey, I just went from being like fifth in my class in high school to being like, hey, I'm gonna get in a van with 4 smelly boys that are like 25 and we're gonna go. They have like frosted tips. It's really cool. Peace. And so my parents were like, what's happening? So yeah, I like left this good girl persona, left musical theater, went to college, was studying something that was, I've always been passionate about education. I had done the teaching before, but like I just didn't care. I didn't care about anything. Like I got to college and I was like, who is this person? Like I wasn't passionate about anything I was doing. And I was just like looking at myself like, this is so not you. Like you are like, you're floating. You're becoming this person that, you know, is like kind of numb and not caring about anything. Like what's going on? So that's when I started writing, because I was like, okay, maybe it wasn't musical theater. Maybe it is just like the music. I need this creative outlet. And that's when I had that like conversation with myself that I was saying before about like playing a character versus being my own character. And I was like, that's when I started, I was writing like nonstop at that point in my life. Like not necessarily music, but poems, lyrics, stories, anything like that. And I was like, all right, it's time to like figure out your story, tell your story. And that's kind of the beginning of like myself as an artist.
I feel like that because when somebody goes through and I feel like that's typical of people going, especially in college, where you're inundated by all these new experiences.
Yes.
And some people can really just kind of embrace kind of that I don't know, like that wandering, that kind of floundering, and just go their whole college, maybe even drop out, or just even though they graduate, not knowing exactly what they want to do.
Right.
But for you to be able to, and other people, when they find that thing that really clicks for them, and really able to double down on that.
Yeah.
How much better did that just make kind of like the way you just looked at life?
I was like a different person. If people who knew me now knew who that person was when I was floating, like they honestly wouldn't recognize me. I had like no drive. I had no passion. I really didn't care about anything. I was just kind of like living day to day, like basically like, what am I doing? And I think you're right. I think a lot of people kind of like live in that headspace, and that like when you're evolving and growing up, and like luckily I think I just didn't enjoy it so much, and like kind of had like a look in the mirror moment when I was like, I don't like this person. This person's not who I am. How do I change this person? And that's when I was like, okay, I need to figure out what this passion is. Because I remember thinking like, do I want to like, let me like get cast in a show? Like I'm in New York City. I could get cast in a show. It doesn't have to be like a big production, but that's something I could do. And I was just like, that's not really what I wanted to do. So I had to figure out, and that was the scariest part about it. And like when I first started doing it, like the music I was writing was terrible, and like the stuff I was doing was terrible. And like I look back on it, and it's actually like I'm super proud of it, because I'm like, whoa, that's where I started. Like this is where I am now. That's pretty sick. Like, but just like being able to put myself out there and be bad at something and get better at it, and like learn why that's why I wanted to do it, was just like, okay, I'm becoming a real grown-up person now. This is cool.
I feel like that perfectionist part of people is the thing that stops people from doing that, where I'm not going to release anything until it's absolutely perfect, and they never do anything. But for you to be able to go out and put stuff that you knew wasn't good, but you could see, now you can look back and say, I needed to put that bad stuff out there to be able to get to where I am at now.
Yeah, I had a good friend of mine tell me, like, we had a whole conversation about like being a creative person. He's a photographer, and it doesn't really matter your medium of art, but if you start from somewhere and you continue to get better, like if you're an artist, generally you have like taste, and hopefully it's good taste, and you see where it is that you want to go, and you're not necessarily going to start there. You're probably going to start somewhere very far from that. But as you work hard and get close to that, as you continue to put content, you'll continue, people will see what you're doing, and hopefully if you hit your stride, like at the same point where you're becoming successful, like that's when like magic happens. It's like that magic moment where, okay, it's starting to get better, people are starting to catch on, and then like you kind of hit this like moment where it's like, okay, here we are. We're getting there.
And then everybody looks at you like an overnight success. You're like, no, not really. Yeah, I've been doing this for years and years and years. If you look back, take a look at some of these really terrible things I did first.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, can we reference this video very quickly of like me like eating tacos and like thinking that's a cool music video? Like anyone? Because that's a thing it's not on the internet anymore, but that was a thing that was on the internet.
Oh, was that a tough day? Was that a sad day when you took that down finally? Like, we got to lose the tacos, guys.
It was a music video. It was like a tour video. And it was like a cover song in the background, and there's like literally footage of me like eating tacos, eating an ice cream sundae, eating donuts, and I'm just like, I was watching it and I was like, what? At what point was I like, yes, this is the shot. Allison, where are you? Can we make sure the donuts are in there, because that's who I am as an artist. But yeah, no, not a newcomer at all. But I actually kind of like love that. I feel like in my head I've been like trying to do this for 22 years, but when it comes to like the scene that I'm in and the music I'm putting out now, like, yeah, I like that. I'm like kind of like the newbie that everyone's like, oh, who is this? Like, where is she coming from? Because it's kind of unexpected. Like, oh, she's like fresh on the scene. So, there's that interesting sort of like dynamic going on.
So at what point then do you, as you're writing all this, do you start like, I'm going to use YouTube as a way just to be able to start putting my stuff out there to a wider audience?
Yeah. It was actually advice that I had gotten from a publicist at the time. Like YouTube was like starting to like pop off with like why can't I think of the word? Oh, like monetization and like all that kind of stuff like a couple years ago, and it was just kind of like huge. Like these YouTubers were coming out of nowhere. That was a hilarious conversation of me trying to explain what YouTubers were to my parents, because I went on tour with I've toured with like a lot of the huge YouTubers. That's what I was doing, because it was like they had great draw, and it was like, oh, let's put some musicians on this, because at first like touring people didn't know how to tour YouTubers because they don't do anything. Some of them they don't have like a talent or a craft. They're personalities, so they would have these tours and they would bring people who had different talents on with them. So I toured with like a bunch of YouTubers for like a couple years, which was like very bizarre, and trying to explain that to my parents was just like, so what do they do? And I was like, they talk to their fans on the screen. They're like, how did stop, that was the best one. So cute. Yeah, so that was like, that was super bizarre. I don't remember what the point of what this question was.
About using YouTube as a platform.
Oh, okay, yeah. So that's why I started doing it. So then I was on tour with these people, and it was like kind of just the make sense next move for me in order to gain traction and fans and stuff like that, because I was gaining their fans, and the way that their fans were connecting with them was through YouTube. So it was like, how do I take my craft and make a YouTube page, because I am definitely not going to sit in front of my computer and be like, today's makeup challenge. Like, that's not going to happen. So I started putting these cover videos out every week, and I did that for like almost a year. I put out like almost like 50 videos of like covers and like different musical stuff, and it was exhausting and crazy and super fun. But yeah, YouTube was like my life for a little bit, which is crazy because it's just not me.
No, but it's something to look back, as you're saying, to be able to look back at work, to look back on a whole year's worth of YouTube videos, just to see your growth through that.
Just through that, yeah. I was so funny. I was actually sending those videos to a friend recently. I was watching these and was just like, this is actually kind of cool to look at the like evolution of this kind of stuff, and look at how much I like tacos.
Tacos are great. You can't go wrong with that.
Yes.
So the tour that you did.
Yeah.
So it would be a combination of recording artists like yourself, and then just people that would get up there and like they talk about like makeup tips and challenges and stuff.
Yeah, essentially. And those
weird
were like
lineup.
It was bizarre. And like if you look at some of these posters, like it's actually one of the first times I came to LA. I did this thing. It was called Winter Lights, and it was with like a bunch of YouTubers, and some of them were like the headliners, but there would be like 30 acts on the thing, because it was like they don't have like, it's like they weren't playing a set or like anything like that. They would get up and like literally take pictures with people. They would talk about stuff. Some of them did like funny little like dances or little skits or something like that, and that was it. So it was like, it was insane. It was like mostly meet and greet and like a little bit of show. So I got to perform. It was weird. Like I'd be playing to like 600 people rooms who had no idea who I was, and it was actually kind of fascinating, because they'd be sitting there kind of expecting like nothing, because like the people that they were actually fans of did nothing. So when someone came up, and like I came up and I usually played like with like a full band, they were like, whoa, like what is this? Yeah. And like afterwards they were like, oh my god, Carrie Lane, blah 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 blah. And I was just like, that was a weird time in my life. My band was also like I was probably 18, 19. The guys in my band were like 25, 26, and we were touring with like 14, 15-year-olds who like take selfies and stuff like that, and we were just like, we're old.
Yeah.
Like,
That's already felt like 18 and 19 feeling already old. I'm old.
Literally, they were like, can you like get us like Smirnoff? And I was just like, like no, I can't actually.
Now, you're talking about gigs there. I was reading that you said in terms of your best and worst gig, we have the Game Changer World, and it's the worst, and as the studio at Webster Hall opening for Mike Tompkins.
As the best? That's so funny.
So what separates a worst gig from a best gig?
Okay, the worst gig at Game Changer World, I was on a like essentially like a metal bill. Like I was on like a metal bill of bands. Like, and I just don't understand who booked that. Like I look, it was so funny. What did we call it? This band before us, we called them like Halloween, like like trash core. Like I don't even know what we called them. They were wearing full skeleton suits, and like Homeboy, like it was like a bass, and Homeboy had like a keytar, and it was like just bass and keytar, and like I was just sitting there like, what? And there was basically essentially 0 people in the audience other than like my parents and like a couple people with like blue hair and like 7,000 piercings on their bodies. And I was like, this is gonna be great. Like I'm gonna get up there and talk about like boys breaking my heart, and they're gonna love it. Awesome. Like we did not want to go on stage. It was so bad. I mean,
they're just pushing you like, go, Carrie, you gotta go, you gotta go.
Yeah,
you
no,
gotta
I'm
go.
like falling back. They're like, here you're going. So listen, I played to a bunch of empty rooms, and I think literally that's like a cool thing about my story. And I think a lot of musicians have played to essentially 0 people before. And you just play it. Yeah, playing a bad gig, honestly, it doesn't matter. Sometimes I think the worst part about the bad gig is what you get in your head about. Like you say like, oh God, like what, I just played to these people. Where am I? What am I doing with my life? As opposed to the gig itself. Those people, they didn't care. I like one of the goth girls like bought a t-shirt that said "Bows before bros" on it, and I was like, yes, like this is awesome. Like it had nothing to do with like the people there. It's more you get in your head and you're like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? I just played to like, 3 people and my parents again. Like what's happening? And then you get shows like, yeah, that Webster Hall show was awesome. I met my good friend that night, Jackson Harris, who was also opening for Mike Tompkins, and Mike Tompkins was like hitting his stride. He was cool was that he was a huge YouTube star, but got there through doing like sick covers, like amazing music. And that was cool because it was like, okay, there's someone using this medium that I see happening all the time with people I'm touring about, but he's using like really cool music to play it. And I remember having like the same sort of I guess fan base in the audience, these like young girls who love YouTube, but they were there because they really liked this guy's music, and so they were way more responsive to the show. It was packed, it sounded great, they loved Jackson, and it was just like a great show. And those are those nights where you're like, yeah, like this is it, this is what I'm doing. So
I made the right choice.
Yes, I'm right. Thank God. Mom, Dad, do you see this? I'm like, remember that other show? Remember the show.
I feel like in those moments when you're having those terrible shows, you have to be able to just take out what makes it funny and focus on that. If you get bored, if you get bogged down in like the negative stuff, then that's just not going to be any good.
Oh, totally. I think about that guy in that skeleton suit with the guitar, like literally like a couple times, like a year at least. I'm just like, remember that guy? Like, amazing. That exists.
Oh yeah, well, that's going to be a GIF. Ronnie, hope you got that. We're going to do a GIF on that. Just her looking up, thinking about the skeleton guy.
So bad.
We'll definitely find it.
Perfect.
So when did you decide? I'm heading west. I'm going to go live in Los Angeles.
So there's actually a very hilarious video of me sitting in a lecture at NYU, and it's just a video of my computer, and it says like Carrie Lane proposal, Carrie Lane goes west, and it's like 9 pages, like full pages of me like writing a plan and like a pro forma and like a map and like all this stuff to my parents of like my like life plan of like what I'm gonna do, like this is the amount of money that I need to what, like this is gonna be my plan for this month. And like I sent them this thing. Literally, I'm sitting in a classroom. Like, my parents probably think it's just like a Wednesday. I'm in New York, like just in, Economics 201. And I sent them this email, and they're like, what? Like, they knew I've always wanted to move to LA. But I kind of hit them with that. And the email was like a little bit of a question mark, but mostly like, I'm doing this. Like, here's how I'm doing this. So it was my parents knowing me, like they knew, well, we're not stopping her. She's going to do it. So I came here for 2 weeks, which was supposed to be like, part 1, and it was like the exploration phase where like, and my brother was living here at the time. I stayed with him and his buddy, and it was supposed to be like, am I going to move here? I came here telling everybody, I'm like, I'm moving here in 2 weeks. Like, it wasn't me actually exploring. It was me like, I'm moving here.
Yeah, it's happening.
Cool, it's happening. Yeah, and then I moved here. That was January of 2016. And then I actually ended up hating LA, like hating my life. Was like, I don't know if I even want to do music. I don't know what's going on with anything. And I ended up moving back to New Jersey from September to December. I was in New Jersey for 4 months last year. I recorded an album in Philly with people that I love, with the team that I'm working with now. Fell back in love with my life, felt focused, felt the best I've ever felt. Was like, this is what I need to do. I'm going to go back to LA. I'm going to kill it. And like these last couple months have been like the best ever. And like, I love LA and would never leave. So it's been crazy since I've been here. I felt awful when I first got here. And now I'm like the number one, like, LA.
What was what was one thing that really made you think like, wow, this is not what I was expecting when I got out here in LA, and this is really kind of souring me on it at the moment?
I think it's a combination of, one, I felt super isolated because I'd come from, when I moved here, I moved from New York, and spend so much time in your car by yourself going places here, and like that doesn't really seem like a big deal, but when you go from taking public transportation and interacting with people nonstop in New York City to like only talking to people that you know or like create an experience with, as opposed to just naturally bumping into people throughout your day, it's super isolating. And you're like, there are millions of people around me and I talk to two like every day. And I really felt awful about that. And then I also think that LA is all about like the circle that you create and like knowing like who you are within such a big place. And I just like didn't make close friends when I first got here. I met only acquaintances, only people who were interested in either working with me or whatever it was. And I just felt super isolated. I felt like look, like if I like got into a car accident and went to the hospital, like would any of these people show up? Like that's what I felt like. I felt like I had people I went out with and I partied with and I did the whole LA thing with, but like did I have any friends? And at the end of the day, I was like, I have no idea if I do. And so I kind of had to like step back and like figure that out for myself and figure out a new way to be somebody in a city that I had never lived in before. Because when I moved here, I knew nobody. So I had to create my own circle of friends, and I didn't create a great one when I first moved here. So,
but sometimes that's nice to be able to kind of take that step back and kind of reconfigure the way you're going to approach something, and then come back in. Like, all right, now I know how to approach this.
Yeah, people thought I was crazy. They were like, you went home, you're coming back. Why are you coming back? Like, what? Like, it was literally people like, you can't make up your mind. Where it was me, like, I've never felt more secure and confident ever. So, yeah. Say what you will. Look
at that. So now, before we started, you were on a little texting with the rest of your band. So now, when did you guys get together?
Hi, this guys. Crew. The crew of guys that I play with now are like a mishmash of amazing humans. It's so weird. I'm even trying to think about it. Like, it's all about networking in LA. And like, my guitarist like went to college with someone who worked with me at Fullscreen. So that's how I met my guitarist. My piano player was a friend of mine who I met on Instagram's roommate, and like then introduced me to my bass player who, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like we are like a mishmash of like just weirdos who play music, and I think that's kind of rad. But yeah, I love the guys that I play with now. They're amazing. They're incredible musicians, and we're actually we're playing our first LA show next week. So
nice. Where at?
We're gonna be playing Dirty Laundry on Wednesday, the 26th at 11 p.m.
Look at that. Very nice.
Yes, it's very exciting.
Well, now, as you're talking about just in terms of finding that crew of people that you really can trust and grow with, how nice it is to come back to LA a second time, find these people.
Yeah.
It's got to just be such a completely different experience from when you were first here.
It's honestly bizarre. Like, I feel like a completely different person, and I feel like I'm in a different like place sometimes, because when I'm here, I'm like, I never saw this city like this. I never saw this experience like this. And I think a lot of it has to do with the people that I'm surrounded by now and the situations that I'm in. So I'm very fortunate.
Now, of course, you've got if it can't be with you. Yeah. So about a romance, about first love. Yes.
Yes. This is actually really funny. I like drunkenly had a conversation with the guy that I wrote this song about with maybe a month or two ago. I was just like it was like probably like midnight here, so it was like 3 a.m. back home, and it was just like, hey, you want to know something funny? And like, I haven't talked to homeboy in probably like a year or so. Like, we're still friends, but only on a like, how's everything been going kind of basis. And he was like, yeah, tell me something funny. I was like, you know that song that I have out that's like doing kind of well? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, that's about you.
Well, that's
you're welcome.
Enjoy that now. Listen to that song with a whole new different perspective there.
so bad. Yeah, it was about my high school sweetheart, and like he was just like, I don't know if he actually ever texted me back now that I think about it, which is like fair, like same. But
You had to go back and listen to the song again. Like, all right, let me listen to this again. Oh yeah,
he's
okay.
like, is this a good thing or a bad thing? Oh yeah, no, that's what it was. I remember like maybe it was a couple days later. He texted me. He was like, I don't understand if this is like a love song or not. Which is actually a very interesting point about that song is that it's like a little bit of both and a little bit of neither. Like if it's a good thing or a bad thing, like it's kind of about like that intoxicating feeling that somebody gives you, which you're not necessarily sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing, like how you get addicted to somebody, and it could go either way. And that's like kind of what I said, and he was like, just still not having any clarity on this. Like, I was like, good, okay, perfect.
So Carrie Lane, incredibly entertaining.
Thank you.
Yes. We're getting close to wrapping up, but other than the gig that you have coming up on Wednesday there at Dirty Laundry, what else, if folks want to continue following everything that you're doing, what's the best places on social media
Social
to keep track of you?
Social media. Well, I'm going to be putting out an EP. I have lots of songs recorded and ready to go. So we're going to put out first half of them. We're going to put out an EP in May, which you can keep up with if you follow me on social media. It's official Carrie Lane on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, and then Carrie Lane Music on Twitter, and then everything is on my website, which is officialcarrielane.com. And I'm very much like interactive. I'm like sometimes fans get like creeped out, like they think I stalk them because I love like I follow people back and I'm like, oh my god, like happy birthday to your grandma. So follow me there, and I'm sure I'll see you guys on the internet and real life and all that good stuff.
Slide into those DMs.
Oh, I slide into all the DMs. I'm like, hey.
She does great things on Instagram, like reminding you to wear your seatbelt, things like that.
Yeah, I like send people like a picture of like a living room and a kitchen and stuff on Instagram, and they're like, oh, what's this? And I'm like, I just moved into your DMs. I've been wanting to tell that joke for so long. It's finally there.
And also, you get this great Giphy package. Your life is going to change when you can communicate as Carrie Lane.
This is true. Yeah, Official Carrie Lane is my Giphy page, giphy.com/official Carrie Lane. There are some gifts up there now. Just the music video that we had going in the beginning, and then my reaction gifts are going to come out with my EP. So that's exciting.
Oh, look at that. And we'll put out the one about the skeleton dudes. Ronnie will get that
Yes, we're going to have to throw that one on there. I'll talk to my people on Giphy.
Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today has been Carrie Lane. I'm Frank Marin. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at HappyGoJackie. We'll see you next time with another episode of The Concert Experience here on AfterBuzz TV.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.